Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today, we're going to be looking at the 2017 CSEC textile clothing and fashion paper. If you looked at my previous videos, you would have noticed that we've already covered question one, two, and three. So today, we're going to be continuing with question number four. Now, the first part of this question asks us to state two consumer rights or two rights of the consumer. Even though they would have asked us to stay two, I will just brief you on a few more. So, rights and responsibilities of consumers. Consumers have the right to safety and protection laws. They have the right to accurate information. They have the freedom to choose, reputational rights, a healthy environment, consumer education, and redress rights. Now let's move on to II. Name two organizations in the Caribbean that are responsible for protecting the rights of a consumer. So let's go back to the notes again. Now, they're different organizations. So you have governmental agencies, and then you also have consumer groups or consumer leagues, right? So let's go through the governmental ones. We have the Consumer Affairs Commission, whose role is to inform consumers on their rights and responsibilities, as well as provide them with an avenue for redress. And redress in this case means formal complaint. The Fair Trading Commission ensure that all trading practices are carried out fairly. The Bureau of Standards, they ensure that all products that are locally produced or imported meet up to standards for human consumption. And then we have the Ombudsman, who is a government official that protects the rights of citizens from harm by government or government officials. Yeah. So we are able to answer that question by just stating two of what we would have just discussed. All right, moving on. State two methods that businesses use to advertise their products or services. All you have to do is think about, okay, where have I probably seen an advertisement or been informed on a business's products or services before? And this could be a TV, it could be radio, it could be billboards, magazines. A lot of companies utilize social media right now, so that's also an option that you can put in. All right, there's also word of mouth, sales personnel, etc. Okay. Once you would have stated those two, you get your marks. Good. Suggest a major fashion silhouette for a bridal dress that would be most flattering for a slim, petite young woman, and give a reason for your answer. All right, so let's look through a few of the common silhouettes. A silhouette is the shape or outline that an outfit gives your body, all right? These silhouettes can flatter a figure and be used to enhance body figures, etc. Different shapes or outlines will have different effects on different figures. So let's look at a few of the silhouettes. We have the ball gown silhouette, which is a very common, or I should say it's a classic silhouette, right? You have a fitted torso, and then from the waist, it begins to flare out, but it flares out in a very bulky fashion. All right, so this is like your Cinderella dress and princessy dresses and so on. Then we have the A-line dress, which is similar to the ball gown, but it's not as bulky. So even though it's fitted at the torso and it flares from the waist, it's not as bulky as the ball gown. All right. Then we have our slimline or sheath silhouette. This one is a bit less hugging to the curves. It's not meant to really show off any shape or anything like that. So it's just really sort of boxy fitting, but it works for people who generally don't want to show off much of their figure. Then we have the mermaid or trumpet, and this one has become popular over the last couple of years. This features a fitted torso, waist, and hips, but by the knees or just above the knees, it starts to flare out. Okay, so I guess the shape of it really gives that nickname of the trumpet and the mermaid because it resembles these two things. All right. We have a hourglass silhouette, which is also one that is a classic. It's basically a fitted silhouette. Even though the name is a figure type, the name is also used to describe this silhouette. So we have a slim waist and bust and hips would be larger in comparison to the waistline. All right. Pretty much like an hourglass. Then we have our empire silhouette, which is Also similar to the A-line, but it begins to flare from just below the bust. You see, with an A-line, you would flare from the waist, but with an empire silhouette, you flare from just below the bust line. So this one, you tend to see a lot of maternity garments featured because you want to use this when you don't necessarily want to bring attention to your midsection. So this is quite interesting. Then we have our extreme volume, which is a silhouette that tends to be used more on runways to create emphasis and whatnot. So these are like runway looks. So you probably wouldn't wear it. But in your daily life, when you do things like layering, if you have like winter jackets and whatnot, you would see extreme volume silhouettes come into play. All right. So the silhouette, you can see the long oversized jackets, maxi dresses, capes, wraps, etc. It's just to create volume. So this can create the illusion of added figure or added body or added volume, and it can also conceal what you don't necessarily want to show off. So for example, I had a student that was telling me, okay, this reminds me of Billie Eilish. And even though Billie Eilish is not a large person, the clothes she wears sort of conceals whatever she doesn't want to show, right? So your extreme volume can conceal added figure or it can create the illusion of added figure. So now let's go back. We're being asked to select an appropriate silhouette for someone that's petite, right? Or that is going to be flattering for their figure type. And one of the most flattering silhouettes you can use is your A-line silhouette. It works for most body types, all right? The petite people sort of get lost into excess volume. So you wouldn't use things like ball gum or extreme volume. Hourglass may be a bit of a stretch because we're not sure what her bust, waist, and hip proportion is like. So you don't necessarily want to add attention or draw attention to areas that she might not be confident with. So A-line is usually a very safe and flattering silhouette for most figure types. Now, now we're asked to sketch the front view of the design of a dress that is suitable for a receptionist working in a lawyer's office. This, I should draw your attention to two marks, means that you're not going to label and put in the most details into this. You are, however, going to ensure that you have a croquis structure, right, which is like the outline of a female body, or if you're drawing for a male, but in this case, we're drawing for a female, right? So you're going to have the outline of the body, and then you're going to lay your clothing or draw your clothing on that croquis, all right? In drawing, if there are specific details that you want to highlight, you can highlight that as well. Because later on, you're going to be asked to label one style feature on the design sketch in CI. So you don't want to do something that's, even though it's two marks, you don't want to do something that is completely plain or lacks style. So I'm going to show you an example of a dress that a student did. And I really think that it was simple enough to not take up too much time. And it also had enough detail to really, draw home the point. So when she was asked to label one style feature, well, she didn't label one, but I would say probably the V-neck or the belt at the waist or bell sleeves, whatever it is she was trying to achieve there. I would say any of these could have been her style features. Style features are just details that add interest to your garment. Style features can represent a particular era, it could represent a particular trend, it could represent a particular culture. It doesn't matter. So once you can highlight some area of interest in your garment, you can consider that your style feature. So this is just a good example of what you can do for 2 and 1 mark. All right. Make sure when you label, you draw the arrow and also write what it is that you're writing in. Okay. So style feature V-neck or style feature slim waist belt or whatever it is. All right. Moving on. So a young man is leaving home to study at a university in a foreign country. He has been advised to plan a suitable wardrobe for his new lifestyle. Outline any 2 steps that should that he should take in planning a suitable wardrobe. All right. Now, this is calling into question our knowledge on wardrobe planning. So let me just switch this up a little and slide down to wardrobe planning. So we have to know a bit about wardrobe planning. What is your wardrobe, you might ask? All the clothing and accessories that one possesses. What are accessories? Anything that you can use to accent your outfit, whether it's jewelry, belts, hats, shoes, bags, whatever it is. Anything that accentuates your outfit or accentuates your ensemble. Your ensemble is your entire outfit from head to toe. I want to get in the habit of using terminologies associated with fashion. So, what is wardrobe planning then? It's a careful thought process put into choosing, mixing, and matching of clothes. And it is any strategy that you put in place to meet your clothing needs. Why is it important, you ask? We live in a time where fashion dictates the way people view us. If we do not present ourselves appropriately, people can perceive us negatively. It's important to always be well put together. Planning our wardrobe can help us more strategically cater to our clothing needs. So now let's look at a few factors that you would consider when you're planning your wardrobe, which is what the question is basically asking us. We have to look at climate. He's moving to a foreign country, so we have to consider the climate that he's moving into, because if it's not the same as what he would have become accustomed to living in, he would have to change his wardrobe to meet the climate of that country he's not going to be living in for a while because he's studying, right? So whether that would include wearing warmer clothes, whatever it is, he would have to shop based on that lifestyle. He is a student, so we won't expect him to go looking for party clothes, clubbing clothes, and whatnot, brunch outfits. No, he's studying, so you want to make sure that the wardrobe matches his lifestyle. Maybe yes, here and there you might get a few things that allow him to be leisurely, but his general lifestyle would be that of a student, so you want to make sure that his clothing or his wardrobe is in keeping with his new lifestyle. Color is also a factor you want to consider because some people might prefer other colors. It's a matter of preference. Body type, you would obviously want to flatter your figure as much as possible. So you would choose according to your body type what kind of clothing you want to get. And needs versus wants. So you don't want to buy things that you want over buying the things that you actually need. So if you, based on your lifestyle or based on the climate, you would need to get jeans or you would need to get sneakers or whatever it is, you make sure that you get those instead of just buying what your eye desires. All right. Once you would have stated what these factors were, you can give a little bit of an explanation, just as how I would have, so that you can secure your 4 marks because you have to outline 2 steps. So let's say 1 mark for stating it and 1 mark for outlining it. Okay? So that brings us to the end of question 4. I hope this was helpful. If it was, you let me know. Thank you.